Mortensen.
Here.
Michael Shaw.
Here.
Priscilla Benali. Kevin Mitchell.
Thank you, Joan. We do have a quorum, so I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Pledge of allegiance, Michael.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico. This is a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you, Michael. Let's go down to item number 2, approval of the agenda. Board members?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the agenda for today's meeting, second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Thank you, board members. We have approved our agenda for today's meeting. Mike?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 3rd, 2021. The regular minutes.
Recognition first.
Go to that?
Yeah. We are.
Skipping right to business.
We can't skip the stars of the show here today. President Long, members of the board, we have a special occasion for our school district, our communities, for Gallup High. We have the Gallup High girls basketball team here today with their coaches and parents, and to recognize them for their state championship this few weeks ago, a week ago, right? A few weeks ago. And we were really excited for them. We wanted to have the board, I know the board wanted to recognize them, and so we invited them here today to do just that. I had a chance to watch them a few times this year, and under difficult circumstances, under a late season with not a lot of good practice time because we're in pods, these girls did an incredible job as far as their playing, their sportsmanship, and their success in the state championship. It's not easy in this part of the state, or as easy, and to some extent, to do well against larger teams. We typically don't produce large, tall girls in this part of the state, or boys. But this team had an incredible amount of grit and scrappiness. Some people don't think that's a positive word, but I see it as a positive word. They really fought every single game. I watched them play against some girls that were my height, and they took care of them quite easily. Some of those girls going to Division I schools. So we're extremely proud of them, excited for them, excited for their parents. We appreciate the parent support of these athletes representing Gallup McKinley County Schools and Gallup High School. And also want to recognize head coach and coaches. It's difficult to develop teams that quickly in a difficult year already, but they did an incredible job of preparing them to make sure they were competitive this year. And you can tell when you watch a team that's well coached. So we appreciate the coaches also. We'll make sure that acknowledge them. Board members, would you like to say any words? And then what we'll do is we're going to then call them by name and have them come up, and we'll all take a picture together and to make sure that we recognize them and make sure they're famous on social media.
Let's start with Kevin. Work our way this way.
Yeah, I would just like to say congratulations to the Gallup girls. You guys are truly champions under the circumstances and the conditions that you guys had to work under to prevail to state champions for 2021. I was fortunate enough to watch the one game when you guys played home your first round, which I believe I got to see the championship game. That was probably the best game. And you guys did a fantastic job keeping your composure and doing what you had to do to get the job done to be winners and come out as state champions. And to the coaches, thank you very much for working with these girls the way you do. again, under the circumstances that you guys had to work with, you guys did a great job to make sure that they were properly conditioned. Having to wear the mask and all. You guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations.
Well, I want to congratulate the girls' basketball team. You did a fantastic job. And as three of us board members are former graduates of Gallup High, we are really proud of you. And so I want to tell you again, congratulations, and we really are proud of you. Thank you.
Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity to tell them from one Bengal to another, congratulations, girls. I'm really proud of you. It's been a while. We won state when my senior year in high school. I don't know if they've won state since then. Do you know? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's exciting to see it. I got to watch a couple times, but it was unfortunately mainly when you guys were beating up on my wife's team over here at Miyamura. Just take it easy on her next year, please. Congratulations.
Mr. Long, one more thing. I forgot to say, I also wanted to congratulate the parents. I see some parents here today, as well as grandparents. You guys stand behind your children and really talk with them and make sure that they know that they are fully supported, and that's also a big plus. So I thank you parents for doing what you do and following your girls throughout the state and watching their games and being by their sides. I can't.
What an awesome year, huh? Girls basketball from Gallup High School. You guys did an awesome job. You know, I watched the game with my ears, pretty much listening to the radio. And the description of the plays and stuff like that in Navajo language, that was awesome too. Hearing it from KGAK and you guys doing a number on those tall girls, that was wonderful. And I hope you, if you decide to go to college, I hope you continue to pursue being on a basketball team. You know, sometimes our local athletics, when they graduate from high school, whether they be in basketball, volleyball, or whatever, you don't hear about them in college anymore. So I think that's one thing you need to strive for. Ado hyaha amado jano kliniki nakha alchana bekaden so zon janago dahanesna yegod hot bekaden so zendo biga so z akot nakha alchana bigisi edan lindo les janago ya na neche inade do lis ekot banan hoshka. And I thank the parents too for supporting your child, for supporting them all the way to the state finals. And by doing that, I think you realize that support is a big asset to these young students. By your support, they were able to achieve a championship. Let's do a repeat, okay? Biga.
Thank you. President. So board members, if you'd come up to the front, I'll join you in a second. Turn the time over to Director of Athletics, Ben Chavez, to say a few words if he wants and call out some names, and we'll all take a picture together.
All right, well, they're coming up again. The only thing I could piggyback off of the brilliant minds that have already spoken today is it's nice to see a program where there's such thick tradition and community. What I mean is, in looking at the team from the coaches down, It's kind of interesting how the loyalty and the history of programs and how much work and dedication is put into individuals, it reflects, and that shows how classy that this program is. Looking over here, I'm going to be recognizing some of my old teachers and coaches and bosses, and also some of the people that are coaching are people that I coached, and not to give away my age or anything, but I'm seeing some girls that I coached when they were little bitty babies, huh, Cheyenne? Anyway, I know that you girls probably heard this numerous times from your coaches, but when other teams hear that they have to play Gallup, they are scared. I'm sure that you've heard you do not take a back seat to anyone. Doesn't matter how small the town you're from is, what color your skin is, how tall you are. You just go out there and show them that you're the best, right? And you not only did that for your district this year, but all across the state of New Mexico. Because one thing that they did not mention is that because of the COVID situation, which made it extremely difficult just to make the playoffs or make it into the state realm anyway, they combined all 4As. So it wasn't just District 1 4A or 2 4A or 3 4A. You guys were the 4A champions statewide. So you beat 5 other districts as well. So we need to make sure that you have that feather in your hat. All right, players, when I call your name, if you'll come up, give Mr. Hyatt a fist bump and grab your certificate, and then stay up here so we can get a picture. All the plaques will say, in recognition of your outstanding athletic achievement, the Gallup McKinley County School Board congratulates the person I call for the 2021 New Mexico 1-4A girls basketball state champions. First, Savannah Watson. Esther Cowboy. Jordan Joe. Delia Morris. Kennedy Smiley. Lancia Joe. Raven So. Dakota Spencer. Trinity Wan. Michaela McCurtain. Catherine Lincoln. Haley Long. Cheyenne John. Kiera Livingston. All right, the staff first. Chris Trujillo. Robin Langer. Jaron Wilson. Oh, we have a manager, Utisha Chi. She here? Not working. Athletic trainer, Odessa Yazi. Mike Bukovich. And head coach Todd McBroom. Congratulations, everyone. Well deserved. Ladies, if you guys will stack up towards the middle and maybe the front row take a knee so we can get a group picture. Tall towards the back. All right, Coach, if you could have your team break it out for us one time. We'll see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Good job, you guys. Yeah. So let's get back to our seats. We're still in a meeting. I want to thank all the staff that's here, the assistant superintendents, Giovanna, Kadon, Gerald, Joan, and all the other staff that are here, Vanessa. Thank you for being here. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, we are also fortunate today to be able to recognize a legislator who has been very helpful with the impact aid issue and impact aid passage of House Bill 6. Senator Mimi Stewart is here with us through technology. So we can all see you, Senator Stewart. You're on the big screen. And I could probably maybe make it a little bit more formal. You can kind of see what we look like over here. There's our board members. So we wanted to make sure that we recognize Senator
Stewart for her efforts and her dedication and effort to working with and figuring out a solution for impact aid issue that we face as a district for decades. Senator Stewart is extremely knowledgeable about educational issues and is not only educational issues as a whole, but specifically on this issue, if not one of the most, if not the most,
Keep it down, please.
knowledgeable about impact aid and the funding formula and how things work. So we wanted to recognize her and thank her for her dedication again and her efforts in working across the aisle and in her own caucus to make sure that we resolve this issue this year. So Senator Stewart, we're going to give you the floor. We wish you were here. We're glad though you're able to attend virtually. And we do have a plaque for you that we'll show you to the screen here in a little while after you say a few words. And then I want to thank you again, Senator Stewart.
Well, thank you so much, Superintendent Hyatt and members of the board. It was very exciting for me to hear your basketball news. How fun is that to win that championship? And kudos to your students who not only put up with Zoom and school, but didn't lose their wits about them in basketball. So that's a really wonderful win. And I want to thank a staff member from Gallup, Giovanna Hanks, who reached out to me and Rachel Gutchell, our director of LESC, during the session about the impact aid bills. We really changed my Senate Bill 41 significantly after talking to Giovanna. And then I worked with Representative Lundstrom to ensure that we did the same changes to House Bill 6. So your staff person, Giovanna, was really great in helping us understand how the capital outlay might work as we go forward. So I'm very proud to have worked on House Bill 6 and to get it passed and have the governor sign it. We've all been doing this about 4 years. I'm just so glad that we finally did what we did. I am looking forward to hearing about your teacherages and specific programs you may do, especially for your early kids. There are just so many more things we can do for K1, 2, 3, 4 to ensure that these kids are learning to read. I really appreciate the work you're doing with your native languages, really ensuring that students are able to get classes in Navajo, Zuni, etc. So we have a lot more work to do, but I'm very proud of what we did this session with respect to impact aid. And I can't wait to hear how it's going to work as we move forward. I expect big things from you all with that funding, and happy to keep helping you work on your curriculum and your budget and what you're doing. So I really appreciate the recognition. You know, it seems like I work all the time, and now that I've moved into the pro tem of the Senate, I really am working all the time. So I appreciate the recognition and the understanding of how much work was put into this. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Stewart.
my plaque. In my favorite color. Thank you.
Say that one more time.
Yes, it's with our greatest appreciation, Senator Mimi Stewart. We hereby present to you this award in recognition of your ongoing commitment and devotion to the students of Gallup McKinley County Schools 2021.
All right, thank you. We appreciate you and
Actually, you want to ask her?
yeah, if you want to make a comment too, you're going to have to come over here to the microphone. Our technology isn't quite up to that point.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that technology.
Dante, Senator Stewart.
That day.
I just want to say thank you very much. And I too am very excited to see how much more we can accomplish with the impact aid money that we will be receiving for our children. I am surely, I'm sure that, you know, this money is going to do such great things for our children and their education. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Stewart. This is Charles Long, the board president, and I just want to say thank you for all the help you provided. I know Impact Aid is funding that we've been fighting since I got on in 2017.
Yep.
And with the funding that we will be getting, we hope to improve programs, make programs that are not available, make them available to our students. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Senator. This is Chris Mortensen. I'm the board vice president. We appreciate all of the work that you did for us and for our kids. It's truly a generational change and something that we've been working and praying for a long time. We'd like to invite you out anytime that you're available to come out and see our kids and see you know, some of the exciting things we're doing. We'll get you in a truck and cruise around and check out some school sites and meet kids and have a great time anytime you're available.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. And I've already told Senator Shannon Pinto that I want to come out and drive around with her too. So I will do that. LESC, I do not believe is coming to Gallup this summer, maybe next summer, but I will try to do that.
Bring out anybody you want. As it turns out, we've got some buses and we can drive around and make a day of it.
All right, that's great. That's a great idea.
Thank you again, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Superintendent Hyatt. I appreciate all of you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Reminds me of a chapter meeting. You know, people always take the back seat and leave the front seats open.
Yeah, she's right there. Talk about a few people from the other parts of the state that represent
Thank you, Superintendent Hyatt, and thank you, distinguished board members, and thank you, staff, and students, education community, and I would be remiss if I did not thank Giovanna Hanks for her testimonies and committees and for her technical and financial expertise behind the scenes in Santa Fe as we worked on this education initiative. I'm very glad to be here. I'm thankful to you as well. And just as COVID-19 has devastated our families and our communities, this year's legislative session was one of the most difficult ones I've experienced. I did miss seeing you in person. I missed seeing you in my office. And I hope that you can come back to Santa Fe this next following session. And I thank you very much for the award, and I look forward to our continued work together. And I would also be remiss if I did not thank our Speaker Egoff and Representative Lundstrom and Representative Alcone for his many years of work on this initiative, and Senator Mimi Stewart as they did the heavy lift. So thank you, and thank you very much.
All right, back to the back row people here. Principals, thank you for coming today. Members of the board, we're here also to recognize our principals, our head principals who have been a part of the school district this past year, who have done an incredible job under difficult circumstances, difficult conditions, to make sure our students are served in the best way possible. I probably couldn't speak enough to the trials that were faced by individual school sites, collectively and individually, as we went throughout this school year. But these principals have been incredible team players, making sure that they have done all they can and put the time in to make sure that they are adjusting when rules change from the state or from us, but also making sure that our schools are safe and a safe place for our students and staff to attend. I can't speak enough of how grateful we are for this body of principals and the work that they've done this year, and we wanted to make sure that we appreciate them this year also with the plaque. Sometimes leadership isn't always recognized as much as they need to be, because they're extremely influential, if not the most influential, in our students' lives, as the leadership in our schools. And we want to express our appreciation to them and make sure that we recognize them for their valiant effort. So thank you, principals. We are going to call each of you up one by one, and we have a plaque for you in appreciation for your work, and we will have, I guess I'll read them. That'll make it easier. All right, if you come up when I call your name, and then we'll fist bump, and then if you would shake the hands of the board members and stay up here just like the last groups, and we'll get a picture at the end. First up from Catherine A. Miller Elementary is Nick Garrow. From Chidaj Elementary, Sasha Blanco. From Crown Point High School, Brittany Garo. She gets 2 plaques because she also took care of 2 schools. For also a Crown Point Mid. Mr. Tulabing from Crown Point Elementary School. Kristen Dashner from Chief Manuelito Middle School. Amanda Clausen from Davis Skeet Elementary. Richie Ferguson from Del Norte Elementary. Randy Chrysler from Indian Hills Elementary. Jake Stokes from Gallup Central High School. Tammy Hall, Principal, Gallup High School. Lindsay Mingus from Gallup Middle School. Steve Wargo from JFK Middle School. Edgardo Castro from Lincoln Elementary. Charmin Munoz from McKinley Academy. Jessica Rodriguez from Miyamura High School. Miss Kitty Wise from Navajo Elementary. Another two-schooler, Mr. Josh Stepney from Navajo Pine High School and Navajo Mid. Rama Elementary, Oscar Ontiveros. Lanny Ray from Rama High School. Eva Prieto from Red Rock Elementary. Adrian Garcia from Stagecoach Elementary. Daryl Antone from Through Elementary. Heather Gutierrez from Through Mid School. Lawrence Senna from Through High School. Robin Holder from Tahatchee Elementary. Anthony Morrison, Tahatchee Middle School. Christy Del Curto from Tahatchee High School. Kelly Morris, Saigai High School. Cynthia Maurer from Turpin Elementary. Ophelia Sanchez from Twin Lakes Elementary. Jessica Landavazogian from Jefferson Elementary. We had some plaque mess ups. We apologize. We have lots of principals moving around, and so there are several principals that we also want to recognize that were at a school and then they got replaced by another person, and so there's multiple different people. So we're going to give you the plaque is on its way. We had some changes we had to make, so we're going to use mock plaques today. So we apologize, and if I miss somebody, please let me know. So we have Jack McFarland. This was a quiz. Tara Uday from Red Rock Elementary. I think that's it. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong here. I should have checked the names before I was given them. Yeah, if we could scoot in. I know this is tough. I'm not going to ask anybody to get down on and lay down in front or anything like that, but I think we can all get in for a picture. If you have a plaque that needs to be changed, please give that back, and we will make sure we get you a good plaque. You may not want that one.
Mr. President, there's a handful of those principals that have more gray hair than the last time I saw them 12 months ago. This COVID thing. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes, item 3A from May 3rd, 2021, the regular meeting, please.
Second.
Okay. Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen and second by Michael Schaaf to approve the meeting minutes of May 3, 2021, our regular meeting, May 7, 2021, special meeting. Roll call, Joan.
May 3rd meeting. Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'd like to also make a motion that we approve item 3B, the May 7th, 2021 special meeting minutes, please.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen, second by Michael Schaaf to approve the May 7 special meeting minutes. Roll call, John.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Let's go down to item 4, consent agenda items.
Motion to approve of consent agenda items 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to approve the consent agenda items consisting of 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, 4F. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Law.
Yes. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Joan. Let's go down to item number 5, study circle reports. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, we just have a presentation. I wanted to give you an update on career pathways, employability skills, and career exploration. So I have invited Dr. Lovato and Jack McFarland, who Dr. Lovato is over our career pathways with respect for the district this year, and Jack McFarland is in a new position to help with that effort as it grows across the schools in our county. Dr. Lovato has a presentation for us, and she's provided you a PowerPoint to follow along.
Good afternoon, President Long, members of the board. Nice to see everyone and your faces and smiles. Thank you, Superintendent Hyatt. So I looked back, and it was October of 2019, the last time that I spoke with you all. So I'm excited to provide an update on our progress. We had some struggles with COVID, and we kept pushing, and we're super proud of that, all that we've accomplished regardless of the unique circumstances, and actually some positives in thinking outside the box that actually came from moving to the virtual world. So we'll get started. I'm Carrie Lovato, Director of College and Career Readiness. And Jack, I'll let you introduce yourself. Please.
Hi, I'm Jack McFarland. I am the Director of Virtual and Career Learning.
All right. If you could, Andrew, are you hitting the slides for me? Thank you. So without going too deep, I already have talked to you all about this, the last time I presented, but I did want to refresh that we're always laser focused on the strategic plan. So with goal 1, increasing our student successes by making our curriculum more relevant and rigorous, but more importantly, goal 2 and goal 4, which is the implementation of the college and career pathways. This year was year 2, and employability skills, as well as always strengthening our partnerships with our post-secondary and with our community partners. Okay, feels funny. So again, just a wee bit of a refresher, because I do have to use the term program of study. So I wanted to make sure that everybody had that same language. So a program of study in college and career readiness is an approved 3-course sequence with a 4th course capstone project or internship that has to be very specifically aligned to a career cluster that is approved by the New Mexico PED, and that meets the 3 requirements of high demand, meaning there's jobs in this area for our local labor market. I'm going to forget the one. High wage means you can make a livable wage off of it, and that it's growing within our area. Okay, so that's what becomes an approved program of study. So we're very specific when we're building programs within our 9 high schools that those programs of study meet the requirements, so that when the PED pulls our data, we get credit for students being enrolled in and completing a program of study. And really quick, I wanted to note, when we first started, and I would make presentations, I would have to go out and get stock photos on the internet. And so I wanted to share that all of the photos that are in this PowerPoint of our kids engaging in really cool programs of study. So the little girl at the top is a student at Crown Point, and she's in our biomedical program, and that's actually a page from her notebook, her biomedical notebook. And then the picture on the bottom is a group of GMCS students that we took to Sandia Labs. So they're actually at the labs meeting with the different types of scientists there. So it's kind of twofold. It gets a little bit, I don't want to get too far down in the weeds, but we never want to lose focus on sending our kids to a 4-year university. Ultimately, that's the goal, whether it comes through stackable credentials or maybe a traditional standard path where you leave high school and you go to college, or maybe it's obtaining enough dual credit courses to get an associate's degree in high school or to get a CCTE credit. So we're trying to always build our community partners and our post-secondary partners to really prepare our kids for what all the options are for life after high school. So we're trying to bring that strategic plan, really bring that vision to life through our college and career initiatives. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Jack for just a quick second, and I know on your handout it's kind of small, but I wanted him to talk about the career pathways at each of our 9 high schools.
Okay, we'll try to make this really quick for you. So, with Crown Point High over here, we have 4 pathways at that school at this point in time. We have 1 new pathway coming in next year. It's called Information Technology, and then they're increasing their classes, 3 new classes next year to help continue their pathways next year. Gallup High School has 7 pathways. They have 2 new ones coming in next year, Political Science and Audio Video Technology. And then they have 5 new classes to help continue their pathways next year. And you can see that as we go through here, everybody's doing a really good job, just not settling for starting it, but actually taking the next step for those students to get in that 3-course sequence. Miramar High School has 8 pathways, and they have 5 new classes next year. They don't have any new pathways coming in at this time. Gallup Central High has 2 pathways and 5 new classes. We have Navajo Pine that has 4 pathways and 2 new classes next year. Rama High has 4 pathways with 1 new one coming in of engineering next year. Through High has 7 pathways next year and 4 new classes, so they're keeping their pathways and expanding on them. And we have Tohatchee High that has 5 pathways with 3 new classes. And Sayagai, they have 3 pathways next year, and all of them are brand new starting out next year for Sayagai. So you can see once again that they're not just sitting there, they're actually moving that next step, that next class, and they're finding ways to do that to be able to help their kids be able to get that 3-course sequence, to be able to develop and move on to the next step after high school. Thank you.
Okay, now to dive into our data, we really do pay attention to the indicators and the benchmarks in the strategic plan. So we're focused on what is our goal at 3 years. So we pull the data every semester, put together how many kids are in courses, what course are they in, and really to make sure that we are moving these programs forward, and then also to be able to target our individual school sites on what their areas of need might be. So I'm going to start you over on the right-hand side with the pathway distribution, and that's really just an overview of our students and what our major pathways are. And so you can see education and training is of great interest to our student. It also meets our labor market needs, as well as health science. That's one of our biggest pathways, and we're excited about that because we have a lot of partners with Indian Health Services and RMCHCS that are very interested in us creating a pipeline. Then we have our architecture and construction pathway, lots of kids that are interested in that, so there's kind of a breakdown. We have overall 2,978 students at the last time I pulled this data, so it might be off 1 or 2. We right now today have 1,901 enrolled in an approved pathway class, so that's 64%. Last year we were at 52%. Our benchmark with the strategic plan for 2022 is 75, so we are well on track to meet and exceed that. So we're going to add a second layer goal to that, which we would like to have 100% of our 9th graders in next year enrolled in that pathway. Very doable. So if you look at the breakdown of schools, you can see where are some of our schools that are doing really well. I'd like to note Tohatchee is one of those schools at 78% of their students in a pathway. And the reason for that is they had a couple strong vocational programs that we were able to leverage in order to already have kids in a 1, 2, 3 sequence. So they're doing really well. Navajo Pine is doing really well. Gallup High and Miamira, even with their large population. So we're right on track. But it also tells us that there are some schools that we have to target with support. Sagai is one of those. So we're really digging in with Kelly Morris, the principal, and offering her some new programs. We gave her an additional FTE to be able to build these numbers. So we're always looking at how can we support to move the schools up, So we're at a 12% increase on track. And you can see from the top left-hand slide, kind of the breakdown. The blue represents students in a first-year course. The orange is a second-year course, and the gray is a third-year course. So if you just look at Tohatchee, you can see Tohatchee's doing so well because they already had Vern Spencer's business program up and running, which we could leverage into that 3-course sequence right away. And Kitty Wise, who was the IC, had a really good education program, so we were able to leverage that. What we would like to see by next year is all 3 of those colors starting to equal out as we go into our 3rd year of strategic plan. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to highlight really quick a couple successes that we've seen. Go ahead and hit it. I don't know if it's once or twice. Oh, there's just an overview of the data. 2 other points that I wanted to add is that we have consistently been at 100% of our CCTE allocated slots from UNM Gallup. That means we are taking advantage of every single slot that they give us, and we beg for more. We had this year 783 dual credit sections. So between semesters 1 and 2, we had over 800 students taking dual credit courses, which is fantastic. And then we're at 96% for our employability skills. So that will be at 100 next year. We just have to fine tune some of our seniors and then some of our 6th grade coming in. Now, I just want to note that is all in addition to our amazing McKinley Academy program that services our pre-college students, the students that are already on track to head to college and get those associate degrees. So you can see how drastically we've increased the number of associate degrees coming out of McKinley Academy, and their enrollment is up to 400. So we've doubled our associate's degrees in 1 year for those students. All right, some key accomplishments, and I could talk for years and years about all of the amazing things our teachers and our kids are doing, but just a couple highlights. So we're well above 1 million in operational Perkins and Next Gen to really just outfit our students and our classrooms with state-of-the-art equipment. We have 3D printers. We have the medical dummies that our biomedical students can do all kinds of different functions with. So really state-of-the-art. We're standardizing all of our curriculum across the district so that every single Gallup McKinley County student has access to these types of programs. It's not okay to have Crown Point have something and a student out in Rama doesn't have that same type of offering. So we're making sure that we're providing access and sharing resources. We're also differentiating that support, and we're trying to layer on industry certified certificates for our students for the first time. This year we had 97 students, but we don't have them all in yet. This is just through senior graduation, 97 students that have received industry certifications. So we're hoping to see that number go up. One more time. Expanding our post-secondary and community partners all the time was hindered a bit by COVID, but we're picking that back up. And I think there's one more on there. One more. I don't know why I did that, but anyways. And we have a pilot marketing campaign that we're running through Gallup High and Mia Mira just to see how that looks. We know that we haven't gotten our word out and we're not selling our product yet, but we're going to work on that with the same marketing firm that did our strategic plan and the rebranding, so that we're going to put out some really high quality information so that our community can see what types of programs we have to offer our students.
Quick question.
Sure.
What is that in that picture in the top right-hand corner? Is that like a bird or something with wings?
So that was when we were at Sandia Labs, and it was actually, and I'm not going to forget the technical term, that spins as fast as it. So it's a machine that tests like the impact of spinning on a device, and it's an airplane, and the kids are standing behind it.
Cool.
Yeah. And then that they were on the bottom right-hand corner. They're working on a medical dummy with Indian Health Services. Yeah. Then, of course, our Tiny Homes project in Miamira. And we do, speaking of that, we still have 3 schools that are in high school redesign working with Johns Hopkins to further think outside of the box with college and career readiness. Okay. We have one more. So this is a really cool picture. Our first internship that we have running right now at Gallup High. 15 students were given the opportunity, 15 combined students from Miamira and Gallup High as a pilot, hoping to expand into Rama and Crown Point next year, where they're conducting a 6-week internship where they receive a $2,750 stipend to work on 3 projects with the national labs. So right now they're engaged with Los Alamos National Labs for 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks it will be Livermore National Labs, and the third 2 weeks will be with Sandia. So if you can see the picture of the yellow device on the left-hand side, they're actually working with Los Alamos National Labs to figure out a better feature to improve that particular device. And the National Labs is giving them feedback. So that's hopefully a program and some partnerships that we can grow and offer to all of our engineering students throughout the district. And these are just future targets. We're always looking to set our goals and to move our programs forward. So like I said, we're on track to meet all of the indicators for the strategic plan, but we want to do better. So we're going to continue to grow our programs and to set our targets until all of our students have a program of study and are on a good path to post-secondary. We tried.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Questions?
Lovato. Really quickly, I just want to add a few little things on with respect to, there are some career pathways, although we do push for a 4-year degree, there are some of those pathways that don't necessarily lead to that. So, I mean, whether it's a tech school, I mean, there's some high-paying jobs out there that don't necessarily go through that route. So we do also encourage those. For example, Los Alamos wants to hire some of our students after they go through a process that doesn't necessarily include a 4-year degree.
Correct.
But, you know, still on average, some of those higher paying jobs in these career pathways do either require or it benefits them to have a higher ed degree.
Correct.
Questions?
Questions, board members?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Can you, I mean, how intensive is this at the school level to, you know, to counsel and guide kids, you know, into, you know, some kind of pathway? I mean, is that something we have enough people to meet with every kid and work with them on this kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have Jack speak to this as well. So we're really trying to start down in our mid schools where we have our targeted employability skills, where we start with the first 2 years of really soft skills and what types of just skills you need to be successful into the workplace. Towards the end of the 7th grade year and all of 8th grade, it's more career exploratory around the New Mexico career clusters, so that the kids get familiar with the language and what types of jobs are available and what does it mean to say a livable wage, and to introduce them to some of those, you know, broad ideas of thinking about what types of careers are out there based on their interest and what they're thinking they might want to do. And then we turn it over to the high schools, and Jack, I'll let you speak to that, when they come down to register our students.
So when the students come down from 8th grade and 9th grade to register at the high schools, we walk them through what our programs are all about. We give them some type of survey to help guide them on their likes and wants of what they would like to see, what they would want to do. And then we have our classes that they would choose from that point. And then from there, we would develop the classes we need. So if we need more engineering classes and less medical classes, then we have an opportunity to get that done before everybody gets in there. So they all have an opportunity, you know, to try to figure out what they want. And once they've started, if they would like to switch into something else, they can do that. They just have to start back with the first course because the courses do build upon one another. And we just try to give them as many opportunities as we can, you know, to figure out what they would like to, you know, work on for their 4 years of high school, and something that would help, you know, further their education.
I'd add, in some areas that's difficult to do. Some of the high schools don't have feeder middle schools, for example, Sagai. So we're catching them a little later in the game, but the schools are starting to do a really good job of working with middle schools to try to make that transition ahead of time, so that their students have more chance to get informed about what decisions they can make with their pathway.
Do we do anything? Is there any, you know, room to work like for kids, like in, you know, I don't know, maybe some of the rural areas where they don't have all of the offerings to tie in through some of the technology we have, you know, at Miyamura or Gallup High, where they have, you know, a lot more stuff. Is it things you can do remotely like that, or do you have to be in person then?
No, so you don't, and we've already started the process of sharing resources. So like I said, the virtual world really opened up just a world of new possibilities. We had IHS doctors presenting to 200 students throughout our district on a Teams meeting, talking live to them about what was happening at IHS with the COVID pandemic. It was just absolutely amazing. So from that, we started thinking, we absolutely don't have to rely on people being in person. So we had a class that was sharing a math teacher and an engineering teacher between Miyamura and Gallup High School this year, and it worked really well. And because of that, the Gallup High students were able to receive 2 dual credit courses because they could learn and achieve their grade through Natalia, who was a certified dual credit teacher at Miyamura. So thinking about that, we're going to try to replicate that year 1 between Crown Point and Through, where they're going to share Crown Point's engineering teacher with the Through students that are interested in engineering, and they're going to share the Through teacher, that is the automotive transportation logistics, with the students from Crown Point that would be interested, and then working out some type of lab time where we actually can transport the students. So it's really got us thinking outside of the box. And I feel like with all of these initiatives, just because of the size of our district, we just have to think outside the box and then start small and think about how do we grow. So it's about pilot programs. Okay, that worked there. How do we replicate it here? How do we grow it to these two schools? And it seems to be very, very organic in nature, and then much more systemic and sustainable, because we're not just trying to throw some kind of system in that everybody should adapt to.
I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, it makes a ton of sense to be able to leverage the resources that we have here that really would be, you know, difficult to scale into a smaller community, and it makes a ton of sense.
And we figure because of COVID, thinking about the positives that have come out of COVID, we have figured out that we can do that without being so drastic as, oh, well, you know, a Tohatchi has to become a Crown Point student. Not the case whatsoever. They're still a Tohatchi student. We just create a bucket for them, but they're learning from the through teacher, and just really sharing those resources so we have better opportunities.
It's important for those kids to see that the technology ties into everything. You know, in the fleet of trucks that I have at my office, it's crazy. You go to the mechanic shop and it looks more like a surgical and crossed
High-tech.
with an IT department where they work on these trucks, you know, to plug into them and all the sensors and everything like that. It's really, really technical.
Right. Well, and I'll say we had the Los Alamos lab scientists come down last Monday to present to our kids, and they were blown away by the lab that we have at Gallup High School with the 3D printers and, you know, just all of the technology that they're able to use. They said, we never had technology like this in high school. We didn't learn until we got to college. And it was really good for our kids to hear that. And they were very proud to be part of that and to know how to use the 3D printers. It's good. Thank you. Any other questions?
Kevin?
No question, but a comment, I guess. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, and just by looking at the percentages and all the pathways that you guys are providing and working with, and then being able to add more new classes, you know, you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carrie and Jack. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
President Long, that concludes my report.
Okay. The notices and communication, you can read those on your own. Let's go to number 6, item 6, new business. We have the approval of the fiscal year 22 budget.
President Long, members of the board, as is every year, we work for months trying to make sure that we're ready for a budget for the next year that we present not only the public education department, but beforehand to make sure the board feels comfortable with our direction. This year is a unique year in the amount of funding federally that's come into our district, along with impact data as we've discussed, along with the general regular types of programs and grants that and funding formulas that feed us our financial resources to provide an education. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Giovanna to kind of go over our budget presentation for today. Also with the understanding that we were able to use the budget committee that you guys had decided on, which was Mr. Mortensen and Mr. Long, and also input from community staff and board members as we developed this operational budget. Giovanna?
Mr. Long, members of the board, Mr. Hyatt. So you do have a budget packet in front of you. The very first page on that is the GMCS organizational chart. And so if you have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer those. There have been a few modifications. We have noticed some areas that need additional assistance, and so there have been some modifications to that. On the next page, you will notice our revenue and expenditures. So the largest amount of our revenue still comes through the state equalization guarantee. Because the credit is not taken this year, you'll notice it's at $128 million. Typically, we would have had that decrease by the amount of the credit because that's no longer taken. Those resources have essentially funneled down into the capital outlay piece of expenditures. The largest portion of our expenditures is always direct instruction. And I always say it kind of echoes out like a bullseye. So as you move through each one of the function codes, you get a little bit further away from the classroom, but it all feeds into instruction. So $108 million on direct instruction, $9.4 million on support services. So these are our nurses, our guidance counselors, our special ed staff, our ancillary staff, those individuals who directly support specific student needs. Support services instruction at 3.2. These are our media services, our assessment, liaisons, individuals who go out into the community. That's where they're typically coded. Support services of the board and the superintendent. Support services school sites, which is directly allocated to school sites for their school site staff at the administrative level. Central services, which is of course this building here at 6.2. Maintenance and operation of plan at 22.9 million. This includes all of our maintenance staff as well as our custodial staff, as well as anything related to energy usage. So electricity, water, gas, property liability insurance, and that's why it does have such a high price tag. You can kind of think of this as our cost of doing business to just keep the buildings open. And then student transportation. This is included in case we have retirement payouts that we need to make. That's just an anticipated possible payment there, which is why it's such a small dollar amount. Other support services, so this is where our reserve is. Our reserve is $5 million at this time. And also included in here is some set aside funds to pay our matches for the Medicaid payments that we receive. Food services is in here similar to student transportation. Community services, this is a combination of the new buses that we purchased, which is where PED made us put them, and I don't think I'm going to get them by the end of the year, so I rolled that cost over, as well as our JPA that we have with the Aquatic Center, any of that cost share that we have there. And then, of course, capital outlay. And because capital outlay is so large and it's going to be such a different thing for us, I wanted to focus a little bit more about capital outlay in this presentation. If you go to the next page, in our budget survey, so we did 3 surveys, and we will be doing more surveys because it is one of the best ways that I actually hear back from people. When I do community events, people don't come, and I'm not sure why. They just don't. But if they're allowed to give me a response, they're much more verbose in telling me their honest feelings and what they see in the district. So we actually had 680 responses, a majority of which were parents or guardians of the districts. Over 400 were parents and guardians of the district. And there were some general themes in what they told me back. Many of them said, we really see what the district did and we appreciate it. You know, you kept our students going. You tried to make every opportunity for our students. There were several comments that commented on school site administration, bus drivers, food service employees, maintenance staff, custodians, really just making every possible opportunity for our kids this year. Also, in-person learning must be a priority. Many people said the technology is great, but it cannot be a primary source of education for our students. It is just not the same quality. There were concerns about COVID. Now, this budget process ran from early January through the middle of March, I want to say. So there's been very much an increased amount of safety and security with the release of the vaccines. The school district has, of course, maintained our cleaning standards and improved them throughout the pandemic, but what's really kind of made the difference is the vaccine. Need to address technology, internet access, and training. I think that we all recognize that. Technology is a great tool, but we need a lot more support in actually using it effectively, and that includes infrastructure. The federal government is coming out with an E-rate plan that will allow parents to actually receive a monetary credit for paying for internet for their students. And we haven't got the full information on that yet. It's not included in this, but as soon as it comes out, we're going to start rolling that out full steam ahead to make sure our parents know what's available to them.
Question real quick.
Sure.
Before. So the survey, we got 680 response here. Where did the majority of the response come from? Because to me, I mean, 680 may seem like a lot, but to me, it's not. I mean, we have what, 12, 13,000 children out there, and we're getting, so the percentage on that is low.
Sure, and I'll tell you how I advertise the survey. I sent it out to every chapter house, chapter leader, the Navajo Nation government. I sent it out all of our parents. I put it in the newspaper. I put it on the radio. I put it on the website. And you know, it's funny that you say that, because community engagement, parent engagement is something I think that every entity struggles with. You know, we hold meetings and we maybe have 20 people show up. And it's just very difficult to get people to express their concerns. So I agree with you. We definitely need to do something to get people more comfortable in talking to us, because I promise you that I do read their responses and we do take their input very seriously. If you look on the next page from the page that I'm reading, you'll see that, that I was so proud of this, because previously all my responses almost came from employees or community members. This is the first year that I've been doing this budget survey that the majority are actually from parents and guardians. And so yes, I would absolutely love to have more people give me more feedback on these. And we have leveraged new technology that's going to let us put out more surveys more often.
And this, just to add, I think this is the most input we've ever received.
Ever.
So I understand that it is low. We would love to have every parent, every staff member participate. Unfortunately, I can't grab their pen and help them get there. It's just, we assume that if somebody doesn't write something down, that there is some level of satisfaction. But yeah, we really like to hear about that, the good and the bad. So.
Yeah, because it's not all rosy, and we know that. We know that we have challenges that we still have to work on and improve upon. And definitely that's one of them. And it's actually the last line in this paragraph, because I was going to talk extensively about the people that did respond about communication. So it seems to be across the board. Staff members said, I wish more parents would talk to me. Parents said, I wish more staff would talk to me. Community said, I wish both people would talk to me. And so there is just kind of a communication gap all the way across the board. And, you know, it was funny, as I read comments, it would be one right after another. You know, I wish my kid's teacher would talk to me. And the next one says, I wish my kids' parents would talk to me, you know, and it was so funny. So we just have to figure out a way, again, to make it that schools are for everyone. It is a good place to provide critical communication, kudos as well as criticism, so that we can improve. And we do ask for people to participate. Now, one of the questions I asked was, what are your barriers for participation? And a lot of parents said, I work and I don't feel like I have the ability to communicate effectively because I work. And so that's definitely something that we're going to take into consideration. Now, what we've always done is try to make sure that parent-teacher conferences are a pretty extensive part of the day, so that we get people who work 9-to-5 jobs, maybe people who work swing shifts, all have an opportunity. But it really does sound like we need maybe more input on that, maybe a focus group of some sort for our working parents on how we can get them more comfortable in talking to us and providing feedback. Because that was one comment that I got over and over again. I work, it's very hard for me to get to the school during the day.
With that, I just want to
Sure.
say, you know, we all know that our biggest turnouts are our athletic activities. You know, I don't know if anybody has gone out there and you know, just set up in the lobby and hand out the survey to every parent that comes in.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the
so
best
we
place
were
to
doing
catch all
that
these people.
pre-COVID. Mr. Mitchell, we were. So we actually caught people in the lobby pre-COVID about our finance. And we would grab them and hand them a piece of paper and just tell them very quickly. We were actually joking about that the other day, you know, because we realized that those activities are really what draw people to the school sites. We were also not only having athletic events, but also academically related events at school sites, like, you know, we had people coming out and doing science demonstrations and those type of events, and that does really bring parents to the schools. So I really cannot wait to restart those activities, and those are all embedded in this budget.
And things loosened up a little bit later after it was due back, so we could compile the data to put the budget together. So while I guess we could have, there may have been some resistance, and obviously there weren't a lot of fans coming at that point before the budget was due.
And I'm going to be honest, I always felt guilty when I went to things because capacity was so limited. If I showed up, that meant a parent couldn't. I felt so terrible. I always talked to Mike about that. I was like, well, that just limits one more person from being able to go if I'm going to go sit there. Now, social emotional issues, and we realize this. Dr. White is not with us today, but her staff has been working on this as well. Our counselors at every school site, of course, working specifically with our special needs students who may need more in-person services for any services that they lost during the pandemic. We realize that it's an issue, not just an educational issue, but a social issue, because that, the joy that we heard from people about when their kids came back to school and how much better their attitude was, just being able to be around other people and interact and be social, you can just really see the need for in-person learning.
My attitude was better when my kids went back to in-person school too.
And food services, you guys know food services ran completely throughout the pandemic. Unfortunately, because we were doing a lot of things where we were delivering food to individuals, it wasn't necessarily individually made meals. That was just not practical or possible given the circumstances. So a lot of people, and this was kind of a mixed comment as well, thank you so much for doing what you did. And that was even a recommendation that we try to keep the majority of the things that we've done, like adding dinner, to the food service program. On the flip side, people were like, I really want my kid back in school eating those meals at the school site. So, and that's something that we want, of course, too. There was a concern still raised about the distribution of resources between in-town and county. And, my predecessor presentation spoke to that. The district discusses all the time, how do we get resources to every student in our school district in an equitable manner? And so we need to be sure that we're putting more information and getting that information into parents' hands. More hands-on classes and electives. I think that kids have really taken to the college and career pathways. I think that they've really taken to be able to manipulate things like 3D printers, biomedical dummies, 3D computer images. It's boosted their interest in school and education. And so I think that our career pathways, as we move down that and we increase that bandwidth of students participating, I think we're going to see a benefit. And like I said, more communication. It's always an issue. Our athletic survey and facility survey, now these were done of our staff members themselves, so you actually have two surveys in your hand. The blue one is athletics, the orange one is facilities, and we wanted people to really tell us, and we chose everybody. So this isn't the principal telling us or just an employee or whomever it is. We sent it to secretaries, custodians, nurses, liaisons, principals, everybody. Tell us what you perceive in your school, what is going on. And the reason that we want that so badly is after you skip over, there's a couple of pages of charts. There's actually an Excel spreadsheet. And so myself and the maintenance and facilities team meet every week on this spreadsheet. And what we do is we add things that we're going to do. We put responsible parties and we put timelines. One of the things that we have always struggled with is the amount of time it takes to get through PSFA to get projects done. And you can see that with Tohatchee and Red Rock. It has taken an inordinate amount of time just for them to approve us a template to do a design RFP. And so my task this next year is push, push, push. This stuff needs to get done. I don't know what they're doing, taking so long to get stuff done, but it has to get done because we can't wait 5 years for a new school. That's just not viable. And so there's other things on here too, as Superintendent Hyatt mentioned, the various federal funding. We are looking at retrofitting geothermal air to school sites for multiple reasons. We're looking at automated lights, both for energy savings and to cut down the amount of things people touch every day. Automated flush toilets, automated sinks in all of the buildings, and making sure going forward that all of our new buildings have those amenities as well. We're looking at all of our athletic facilities, if we have grass, going to turf, because long term, just given the drought that New Mexico has, having turf fields is not a viable long-term option for us. Making sure all of our sports teams have equitable facilities, girls and boys, baseball, softball, basketball, all these types of things. Making sure that there's bleachers for parents to come to games. And not only at the high schools, the mid schools, but also looking at the elementaries and how the elementaries use their facilities. So you'll notice on here that there are pages and pages of things that we're doing. And we meet every week, we get progress status updates, and this list will only get longer as we move, because I need to be sure things get done. After that survey, after the purple sheet, you'll notice our bond debt schedule. The district does remain bonded to practical capacity. After I do our bond debt payment in August, I will go out for another bond, and that will be to ensure that we can continue the construction cycles. And then after that is all of the actual hand-keyed entries of each one of the budgets as they stand right now. The budget contains everything that we are legally required to provide, as well as all of the items that are within the strategic plan. A couple of things that I'm really excited about that I wanted to highlight this year is that Navajo language and culture will actually be implementing at all of the secondary schools a textbook, as well as several other items for teachers. All of the Navajo language and culture teachers will get upgraded equipment, and we will have 5 interns this coming year. So what we did is, working with Dr. White and her staff, we reached out to the Navajo Nation for data. And there were 2 pieces of data that we got. One, why do people not pass the 520 exam? What is it that people are missing? And 2, why do students not pass the bilingual SEAL exam? And so using those data points, we've restructured some of the things in Navajo language and culture so that we can take on 5 EAs and hopefully get them to 520 status in 2 years. And that's going to be a grow your own program for Navajo language and culture so that we can get all the positions filled. The other thing about that is, how do we realign our curriculum to make sure that our students are graduating eligible and able to speak the language and be knowledgeable about it, as well as the culture, to get that bilingual seal? And so those 2 things are driving that program. And so from elementary through high school, there's been a curricular realignment, as well as an implementation of textbooks, support books, culturally relevant manipulatives, all of those things. Is there any question that the board had about any initiative that we're doing, or how we're moving forward, or supporting our staff?
Questions?
Javon, I sure appreciate your work as usual. This is a massive amount of work, and it's professional and tidy and easy to understand, and I appreciate it, and I know that we'll see the benefits of this. Trying to, we've got the money coming in, and trying to translate those dollars into projects and things that people in the community and the kids can feel and touch and see is going to be really exciting over the next couple of years, and I appreciate your work in putting this together. It looks like we've got a lot of input. It'll be great to get more people's input as we go forward, but yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just want to say that, you did a real briefing on our Navajo language and culture, and I would like to request at our next meeting that we do have a full update from our new director and our other program people that are involved. I want to see their goals and their program platform.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I will say now we are still in negotiations, so there may be some slight amendments to this, as there is every year. If there is an amendment, I will bring it back for approval in front of the board before making any adjustments. PED may also require us to move some things around, just as PED does. They're still putting out some information, so I may bring some small things back for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Just one more question here.
Sure.
We have our new school projects here, and then we just did the approval of the architectural plan. So once that's done, we just keep moving forward, or is there going to be any delays that we're going to have to expect?
I don't currently expect any delays, Mr. Mitchell, but I will tell you, for example, the Crown Point High was approved, and what we're trying to do is do Crown Point Mid at the same time for cost savings, because I've told them I need a new Crown Point mid. I know it's not on their list, but we need it. And so it'll be cost savings if we can do those two projects simultaneously. In addition to that, we're asking for additional teacherages in Theru, Crown Point, and Tohatchee. And they're telling us that we can retro add them to the awards that we already have for those areas. And so I'm hoping to leverage that. That board meeting is in June. So I'm hoping to bring those back to you as well. Part of what I've talked to PSFA about is the fact the way that they do things in just ranking and not paying attention to communities is they don't allow us to have cost savings because it's costly to bring people out to various parts of the state. So if I have 3 or 4 clustered projects, I can probably get a better price if I have 3 or 4 projects for one person to bid on. And so they're kind of starting to get that in their mind. I've asked for in the Crown Point area specifically, Crown Point High, Crown Point Mid, and a classroom at Crown Point L. And so as well as the teacherages. So I would be able to cluster 4 projects together instead of doing 1 this year and then 1 next year. And then that means paying 2 architects and 2 managers and 2 designers and 2 engineers for every project that I do. And I could just pay 1.
Yeah, okay, makes sense now. I was trying to figure that out, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
so I'm
as
trying to
of-
get them to do cost savings by clustering these projects together.
As of late, the delays are because of PSFA.
Yeah.
Their bureaucracy is immense and very difficult to wade through. I'm not sure how much amount of pressure can get them to move, but we can get contractors to move. So we're, like as Giovanna said, we're going to push on the design to get done as soon as possible.
Yeah, and you're reauthorizing so that we can do a full replace of Tohatchee High. Not a remodel, a replace.
With a dome. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll host the state tournaments.
A dome is going to be someplace else, I guess. Any other questions, board members?
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we approve item 6A, the fiscal year 22 budget, please.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your. Okay, motion's been made by Chris Mortensen and second by Michael Shaw to approve the fiscal year 22 budget. Roll call, John.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Next item.
I just had a quick question real quick. You know, I know that before we adjourn, I know you did send us the whole listing of the principals, but I was trying to remember what principals were where, but you know, we did award one principal two plaques today. Did we get those other positions filled?
We
So-
did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Shaw to adjourn, second by Chris Mortensen. Roll call, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Mortensen,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
240.
2:40, we're adjourned, board members. Thank you so much. Thank Mike and the assistant superintendents and Andrew, Bart, and the person way back there. Thank you.